Hello and welcome to ET Auto and to another episode of Technology Talks, an exclusive series of discussions with technocrats and technologists. Our guest today is Mr. V Raman, who is the Chief Technology Officer at India's largest passenger vehicle maker, Maruti Suzuki India, and also an industry veteran with no less than 40 years of experience in the industry. Welcome, Raman-san, to the show.
Thank you, Sumantra-san, for having me here today. Thank you.
Raman-san, as I see it, decarbonization and safety are two of the major drivers influencing not only the technology roadmap of industry players, but also policies and initiatives on the government's part. With the latest example being the launch of Bharat New Car Assessment Program, or Bharat NCAP, by Union Minister Nitin Gadkari on 22nd August. So let's start off this discussion by focusing on the safety aspect of things. So first of all, how does the industry see this new development of India having its own NCAP program? There have been a lot of discussions, a lot of debates, and global NCAP, which has been kind of associated with this, kind of in formulating this, has been testing cars from made in India cars for over nearly almost a decade. I think 2013 it started off the tests. So what is the industry's perspective, and particularly how does Maruti Suzuki India see this development of Bharat NCAP, which is also seen by someone as maybe ushering in a new era of automotive safety in India?
I think that this is a very one, of course, BNCAP is topical, but the fact remains that, as you rightly pointed out, that for mobility industry today, the decarbonization as a overall objective of all the countries, plus mobility contributing in some way in that. Is important. And second is, of course, as mobility is changing, so safety quotient also, becomes an important aspect. So I think, okay, let's talk about the safety. And, today, as far as India is concerned, India, from a car penetration perspective, is at a very low 35 vehicles per 1,000, whereas in developed markets, it's more than, 700 or so. And we have a large population of two-wheelers and bicycles, and a lot of people commute by foot. So I think there is a varied transportation and mobility requirements suiting the various pockets of the Indian customer. Having said that, as far as the four-wheeler is concerned, the quotient of the safety has been pushed from a regulatory mechanism from offset, side impact, regulation introduction, then pedestrian protection, then ABS becoming standard, then co-driver.
It started around the 2018-19 time period.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the airbag, co-driver airbag becoming standard, then the seatbelt reminder, speed warning, all of these have, is driving the safety quotient. And going forward, I think today we are talking about the BNCAP, and BNCAP and GNCAP have been in there, in the works for some time. And, GNCAP has been testing vehicles, Europe, Japan, China, US, they all have their NCAPs. And so it is but logical for India to also have an NCAP. And NCAP is essentially a customer information about safety. Regulation is about minimum safety requirement for a vehicle to be sold in the market. The NCAP testing and the rating system is over and above that to distinguish products from one another. And it's a customer information. And obviously, I think it's a welcome step from the industry side, from Maruti Suzuki side.
And also, I think it also, some also said that this will also trigger off a very healthy debate among healthy competition, among industry players to really, kind of come up with really step up the safety quotient of the cars which already meet the regulatory norms, of course. So thereby, how does Maruti Suzuki plan to kind of take this also as an opportunity, perhaps, to really kind of show its leadership on the become a leader, perhaps in the safety quotient also.
So definitely, I think we have a very, we have been under discussion with the government and test agencies on the NCAP protocol, and we know the progression, likely, direction which is there. So obviously, regulatory requirement and the rating requirement is, is going to move. Having said that, Maruti Suzuki is also, looking at this, studying it, planning for it, working on it. And so from the product side, you will start seeing technologies getting incorporated to safety assist technologies. And I would just like to, point out here that, we have taken a very proactive step. Whatever we talk about, there are two parts of the safety. One is the passive safety, and second is the active safety. As far as the passive safety is concerned, it's about additional airbag, side airbag, and curtain airbags, and reminders, rear seat belt reminders, and so on. But active safety is about now ABS is standard. We have equipped most of our models with ESC also, and I think that's a very important aspect, because that's something which helps in determining the trajectory of the vehicle, during braking, and making sure that it follows a particular line. And so, yeah, I think we believe that active safety also is one important ingredient of the safety, and so we are pushing the pedal on that. And going forward, definitely we'll see other technologies coming in from our.
And Raman-san, talking about technologies, correct me if I'm wrong, the NCAPs, from what I observed, also kind of encourage or trigger faster adoption of safety technologies, even before some of them become kind of mandatory. For example, ESC. ESC, I mean, in India, the discussion of it become a mandatory feature. It's not yet one. But looking back at the fitment levels, it has gone up significantly, upwards of 70%, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. So as far as Maruti Suzuki is concerned, we are almost 80% of our volume has ESC, and all the other vehicles are being made compliant to ESC going forward. So definitely, I think you will see that becoming 100% very soon. And of course, the addition of side airbag and curtain airbag in the higher set of the variants is already there. And going forward, this is going to increase as a fitment ratio. We have a very robust plan looking at our semiconductor situation and all of that. We have a robust plan, to ensure that we can, make up the volume. We have certain challenges today, but definitely we will be, going forward in that direction too. And so rightly, so the customer today is going to have more information with the rating system, and will be able to, distinguish variants and, pockets for various customers, and determine what direction which we need to take. So I think that's a direction worldwide it's happening, and India is no different, is what I feel. But having said that, we have a high accident rate. We also have a high fatality rate, which the Honorable Minister keeps pointing it out. And I think that's a very important point one needs to keep in mind, that all the technology which we are building and all the rating system which we are building, the measure of that should also be in terms of the reduction in fatalities going forward. Definitely, with the push for higher, larger urbanization going to happen as far as India is concerned, more expressways being built, more highways being built. And so, the speeds also, in certain urban areas reducing, whereas in certain express highways and, highways, it is increasing. So I think a lot of education and enablement, enforcement, engineering, or including, infrastructure engineering, all of that needs to be, kept in mind.
Hand in hand, of course.
Yeah, as for the whole thing to, actually move in the direction in which India would like to move in terms of reduction of fatalities. Ultimately, that is the objective.
Absolutely, and you have rightly, rightly pointed out that these aspects of adherence to the law, enforcement of the law, proper road engineering will also are equally important as much as as much as having safer cars is important, right?
Just I
So
would like to point out here that remember we had the Pehni Kya as a initiative of Maruti Suzuki where we wanted education, and ultimately
yes,
if airbag is deployed and the seat belt is not there, the fatality or the injury actually increases for the occupant. So I think it's very important that we have to belt up, and through your medium and through you, I would like to urge everybody to increase the and actually have as mandatorily when you get into the vehicle, please buckle up. I think is what we always tell, whether on the front seat, whether on the rear seat. It's not about the police guy is looking at you, and so therefore you are putting on the seat belt, but
yeah,
it's for your own safety. I think I would
indeed.
like to urge everybody to do that.
Indeed, but on that note, even then, I mean, even with the seatbelt reminders, the usage rate is not to the level one would expect or what it should be. So, therefore, do you think, like that regulation of seatbelt reminder, which is mandatory now, at least for the co-passenger, co-driver seat, do you think something like the car not starting without the driver clipping on the belt, or the two-wheeler not really not starting without a I don't know if there is a smart helmet or something like that, or without the side stand on in the case of a two wheeler. Some a regulatory kind of intervention like that could also really perhaps is needed, would help.
Yeah, I mean, these are all things which, which can be done, and technology enables you to do. I still remember about 30 years back, in US, there was this seat belt, fitment, which is a passive seat belt fitment. You close the door and the seat belt would, come and get locked because it was already in the buckled position. There was a mechanism where the belt would move towards the B pillar from the A pillar and lock the. So I think passive, safety as such, because pretty much, buckling was not there. So therefore, this was what engineers thought that, okay, this would help. But, ultimately, it is about the individual's self consciousness about safety, and which is very, very important. And everybody, whether, when you're crossing the road or whether you are jumping the red light or whether, keeping the speed limit, uh, keeping in lanes and, following all those rules. I think it's about a very conscious effort to adhere to it, and it has to come from within everybody, and education is there is no alternative.
Absolutely, there is no alternative to that, and it's all the more reason now as the road infrastructure gets better, the average speeds increase, cars become more powerful, all the more necessary, therefore, for the users, be it the driver or the passengers, to be absolutely much more responsible and really adhere to the law and ensure safety for oneself and others as well. Uh, and Maruti Suzuki has, I believe, lined up already three models from Maruti Suzuki in the queue of about 30 odd models
Yes,
in industry for Bharat
we have
NCAP.
offered we have offered
Are
our
you
vehicles.
looking for leadership in the safety question also?
It's about all manufacturers wanting to be part of this, and Maruti Suzuki was one of the first manufacturers to raise their hand, saying that yes, we will participate. Let's work on the protocol. Let's get our vehicles ratified by V NCAP. So I think definitely, I think we are going to participate, and as soon as the application.
And would the target be 5-star only, or would the target be 4-star or more, or 5-star only?
I think, I would like to quote here, Mr. David Ward of NCAP himself. He said that, if every vehicle is 5-star, then, then there is something which is an issue in the rating system itself. So I think I do believe that, every vehicle, every segment also meets a particular desire of the customer. Customers will have a choice to, to decide what kind of rating system and what helps them. And, believe me, I think uh, we are talking about, the vehicles which are on the road are today also safe, as long as you follow certain rules and regulations. We are trying to increase that quotient a little bit more and make a distinction between different manufacturers and different types of vehicles.
Right.
So I think this is something which is going to evolve, and definitely vehicles will be in varied star ratings, which will be, you will still see. I don't see 100% of the vehicles everybody being at 5 star. I don't see that. Then that would mean that the star rating system would further get
Needs to
tightened,
right.
and it will go to the next level.
Correct.
That's the usual process.
Right. And you rightly said. I mean, even as much as it's unfortunate that India still tops the list of nations with the highest number of road fatalities globally, I think that number can be brought down significantly without any new intervention, even not only by proper adherence and enforcement of all the existing norms, regulations, laws, and of course, proper engineering. So, of course, any additional intervention will help. But let's get also, you're saying, let's get also the basics right, so that we achieve the intended objectives, not only for the industry, but for overall. No,
For India, we should do that, and we should take care of, the two-wheeler, which is a large population, of on our roads, the bicycles, which are a large population. We're talking about,
and not to mention the pedestrians, of course, no, because
pedestrians, and it's just 3% of India moves by cars, and 12% moves by two-wheelers. So a large population which is traveling in public transport and by bicycles and by walking. And I think that's a very important thing which we should, and they are the vulnerable road users today, and we should definitely protect them in all ways.
On that note, I mean, Raman, it's good to see this development. Hopefully, I mean, we all take all the necessary measures and steps and adhere to the law, enforce the law. In addition to these new initiatives, the key one like Bharat NCAP, I'm sure India will progress towards safer mobility. Now, let's shift lanes and talk about cleaner mobility, the decarbonization part. Could you just very briefly throw some light on what's the decarbonization strategy of the PV industry in India, and specifically about Maruti Suzuki India, in the light of the recent, of the ongoing efforts to really build a gas-based economy, the hydrogen economy, and also, of course, biofuels like ethanol moving eventually to flex fuel?
Well, I think India has a very stiff target that 2070 we need to be carbon neutral. And when we say carbon neutral, we are basically saying that we should we need to have a carbon sink, that we should be able to absorb what is, there in the by afforestation and so on and so forth. That's something. And second is that whatever we are producing, whatever we are actually running, the carbon footprint should be reduced, or we should look at alternatives. So, so that's principally that's how it is. And how I look at it is economic activity, is going to grow when India is going to become the third largest economy in the world, and going to, push that further. So if that is so, then the economic activity is going to drive up the carbon footprint. So in a sense, that what it means is that you also need to ensure that whatever we are doing today is going to only, we increase the rate of industrialization, but we also try to reduce the carbon footprint from the current. And so it's a 2005 onwards is the base from which we are taking, and we are saying that 35% we will reduce the nationally determined targets to 35% by 2030. And India is well on course as far as that is concerned. But having said that, going forward, it is going to, further, going to, go up, and we need to, continue to bring it down so that we are at that same level. So from a passenger vehicle, auto industry, and so on and so forth. So there are so many things which manufacturers are doing, and their energy is important, and energy sources, how we are going to make the energy, and whether that energy is going to become green eventually, and that availability and the infrastructure across the India is going to be very, very key. And if that is available, then definitely the technology which is there on the vehicles will change accordingly.
Right.
So that's how I look at it. So both have to happen in sync, so to speak. It's not one after the other. It has to work in parallel. So India has its own imperative, very high crude oil consumption, 65% of the petrol used by two-wheelers, 35% by four-wheelers. So I think we need to, work as far as, the reducing improving the fuel efficiency is concerned. So that's one definitely clear target which is there. The second is use alternative fuels. And so, in passenger vehicles, you will see that many manufacturers, including Maruti, and Maruti was one of the first to, go, in a big way as far as putting factory fitted CNG is concerned and increasing that. So the gas-based mobility requirement, and that's what India's also one program is there to increase the infrastructure of CNG pan-India, and we have seen a huge traction happening. And because of the availability of the infrastructure growing in the last 3 to 4 years, you have seen a huge amount of adoption of CNG. And also because from a consumer today, from a petrol vehicle to a CNG, the total cost of ownership for a CNG is very, very lucrative today to the customer. And so increasingly the
It's competitive despite the increasing cost price of CNG.
Absolutely. So I think still, it is one of the lowest, there as far as running cost is concerned compared to diesel as well as petrol. So that's one, good direction which India is looking for, and therefore the CO2 reduction from CNG is roughly to the range of 25% on the cycle. So I think that's one very clear direction which is going to help, India in meeting the carbon decarbonization imperative. The second is the government's mission of electrification, and government has said very clearly 100% of the two-wheelers by 2030, 30% of the four-wheelers by 2030, 100% of the buses to be electrified by 2030. And so this is, I'm quoting the Niti Aayog report, which came out about 5-6 years back. So I think that's one direction which is definitely there. But having said that, one needs to look at from a well-to-wheel perspective what it is, and but India is going to in that direction, increasing the solar, electric, generation. Very ambitious target of 500 megawatt, by 2030. So renewable quotient is going to increase. If that happens, definitely electrics also become from a purely from the carbon decarbonization perspective, one clear direction, and India is all moving towards that. Of course, there are related challenges to the EV ecosystem and all of that, and the cost structures and the localization levels and so on. But that's keeping it aside, but that's a very clear target. The third direction is that food to the grain to fuel the economy, or that direction which which is also being worked on by the government as well as by the industry, increasing the ethanol percentage in our vehicles from 0 to 10%. It has happened in a space of almost a year and a half, and now going to E20 by 2025. Auto industry has already embraced that and changed all the fuel related parts, so that there is no erosion, and it's enabled as far as E20 is concerned. From April 2023, all two-wheelers as well as four-wheelers all have confirmed, including three-wheelers, that yes, we will meet E20 compatible models, and where volume is already in sales. Going forward, E20 is going to become standard in 2025 April. The industry is working towards that of meeting that requirement. And going forward, I think the other thing which is also being talked about is grain to fuel, corn, using corn or using other feedstock to make ethanol. And so that's another direction which is there. And if we increase that, maybe we can have more flex fuel vehicles. Maruti Suzuki is already working on flex fuel. We demonstrated one vehicle. We will get into series production in 2025, the first, flex fuel model. So I think that is another direction which we feel. And so why it is important from a decarbonization perspective is because of the biogenic factor which is there for the ethanol. So you are able to, actually, whatever is there, the methane in the air, which is a large component, you're able to, the plants is absorbing that, and you are using that in the fuel. And so therefore, I think the more that you do that, the biogenic component that's, is going to help in reduction of overall CO2. So I think these are directions which definitely, which we feel are, going to go a long way. Of course, is the hybrid, piece where, the ICE engine, how to, further, improve the efficiency of ICE engine by electrifying that, putting a motor, putting a battery, recouping the energy loss which is there, and thereby having a self-charging system on the vehicle to improve the fuel efficiency by 35%. And so that's one direction also which is doing as far as
That's what you have achieved with the Grand Vitara and the Invicto,
yes,
35% off.
definitely. Yes. So that's what we are doing. And so I think as Maruti Suzuki, I would like to say that we are working on all these technologies. And definitely, I think, the most important aspect of is that, from on the back end side, it will be about how green these energy sources are and how much that helps in the decarbonization. And from a vehicle perspective, definitely technologies are being worked which will enable the reduction of CO2 going forward. I think so. It's a very um, direction which we need to all take. And next 10 years is going to be a lot challenging because all these technologies we need to make them work, and it's likely that the cafe norms will get a little bit more tightened from the current phase of 113 gram. And so going forward, I think auto industry, as far as four-wheelers is concerned, have to do. Other manufacturers, as far as heavy commercial vehicles and two-wheelers still has to determine the CAFE norm as such. There is no direction on. There is a work in progress at the moment. And heavy commercial vehicles follow a different kind of pattern because how they use that is, they check that is different way. But the passenger vehicle today is, fully, it's a well-oiled machine, I would like to say, in terms of the process of doing that, accounting for it, and so I think, I think we are in the direction where we will definitely be able to meet the targets which are set by for India.
That's good to know. And at this point, at this juncture, it's also worth informing our viewers that Raman San also wears the hat of the chairperson of the Committee for Emission Regulations at SIAM, which is the Society of Indian Automotive Manufacturers. Therefore, someone like him is very well placed to give a very comprehensive overview of what is happening at the industry and the direction the industry is taking. Raman San, now, let me talk about fuel efficiency CNG. Fuel efficiency has been one of the strong pitches for Maruti focus area, and Maruti is also a kind of lead, has taken a lead in CNG. So, in terms of pushing the envelope further, what would be the more realistic target of kind of pushing the fuel efficiency challenge in terms of fuel efficiency levels? Could it be 30, 35 to a liter? And in terms of CNG, currently, what what share of your overall vehicles is CNG in terms of sales? And now, do you also see the next level of, let's say, offering turbocharged CNG engines also?
Well, that's the direction, definitely. But having said that, I think first let me answer that we have almost, I think, 14 brands which are having CNG. So almost every model has a CNG variant in there. So we have the largest, offering as far as CNG is concerned. That's one. And number two, from an overall volume perspective, it's almost 20 to 25% of our overall volume today we sell as CNG. And going forward, we'll definitely do that. I'd like to now talk a little bit about, the fuel efficiency improvement is that much, and so therefore that it remains before I come to DITC. But
Has it reached the kind of the peak that it can be stretched
well,
further, or do you think there's still some room?
engineers never give up, so every engineers will always try to find some solution and try to, for us, every 0.5%, 1% improvement is also very, very important. It is a lot of effort, but engineers never give up from that perspective. So we definitely, you will see, the engines becoming more efficient, how to, improve the combustion, and that definitely is a work in progress always. And so that pedal keeps getting pushed. But the other interesting aspect I would like to talk about as Maruti Suzuki, we are also talking, doing work on CBG, compressed biogas.
Yeah.
And compressed biogas can be used in the same vehicle, which is a CNG vehicle. Why it is important is that, we are actually making fuel out of waste which will actually go into the, atmosphere as methane. So I think that's
And
one.
that's also a push from the government, right? Under the SATAT
Yes,
scheme.
and so under the SATAT scheme, that's also another push which I missed mentioning that. That's one clear direction which Maruti Suzuki is going to, work on, where the waste to fuel, or that's I think has a huge potential, because if we have a lot of CBG stations across India, I think we can harness this and can be a local solution for India. I think it is going to be very environment friendly, reduce the overall carbon footprint. I think that it's going to be highly advantageous to go into that direction, and Maruti Suzuki is fully committed uh, towards that, in that direction too, and we are working on that in various aspects. So there are certain norms as far as the CBG is concerned in terms of percentage of methane and all of that. So what is the quality which is to be kept, and so those parameters are defined by the CNG.
But those norms are for the retailers, the fuel retailers to meet.
Yeah, but then whenever they push it into the pipeline, or when they use the cascades where they fill in and then they are dispensing, though there also there is a certain norm which is already being followed.
Okay.
So that the customer does not have any issue on this. So I think that's one great direction which I believe is going to be also a very important aspect for India in a way. And we at Maruti Suzuki would like to, further that direction and lead that.
Right. Here, another aspect is the hydrogen economy. And at this Auto Expo, we also saw a commercial vehicle major showing hydrogen. They've been showcasing hydrogen concept for a long time, but this time, first time, hydrogen ICE. And you had also mentioned earlier that this is something which Maruti Suzuki will also look at. So, which mode would be more realistic for you? Would you take the hydrogen H2 ICE route, or maybe the hydrogen fuel cell?
Well, it's a very difficult topic as far as hydrogen is concerned. One is about, without going into the how hydrogen is manufactured and what types of hydrogen are available, and gray and brown and green and so on. So that's from the the manufacturer portion. And today also hydrogen is being being produced as by the refineries also as a byproduct. I think what is important to note here is that where it can be used. I think one of the challenges is about the storage of the hydrogen and carrying it and also putting it on a vehicle. Uh, the I believe that the truck industry, which the electrification being a very tough part of that, the direction for that would definitely be LNG and maybe hydrogen ICE engines and multi-point injection itself would work. So I think from that perspective, I think that heavy commercial vehicles, that direction will definitely get adopted is what I feel. And that's why you have seen the heavy commercial vehicle manufacturers showing that. On the passenger side, the challenges and the hurdles are much higher. So I think it's still at a very nascent stage of research only, and we're watching that space at the moment. And of course, people say that in the in future, it's hydrogen fuel cells is the next direction which one needs to take. And so passenger vehicles, that direction, that target is there, but that also is today still work in progress. Just one or two models in the world are having fuel cells. Very expensive technology. Distribution again is an important aspect of infrastructure.
Could there be? I mean, considering that one of the very few models is from Toyota, the Mirai. Could there be? Toyota has started some pilot projects in India. So, is that another area of collaboration for Suzuki and Toyota in
That
India?
would be, I think, maybe determined at at the global level between Suzuki and Toyota.
Yeah.
Not be able to comment on that, but definitely the opportunity still exists that there is that direction as technology is there, and it's already demonstrated as a series production vehicle.
Right.
But the challenge, of course, is the CNG stations, which are, I mean, the hydrogen stations which are required for this kind of fuel, and
of course, the color of the hydrogen.
yes, the color of the hydrogen. So these are the two aspects, and they are very high pressure systems. So I think that's something which needs to be discussed and further deliberated as to whether really that direction can happen at what stage. Opportunity is there, is what I feel, but too early days for the passenger vehicle.
Raman-san, with you in every meeting, time is never enough. And it turns out to be the same in this case also in today's discussion. But before we wrap up this discussion, Raman-san, if you take at the horizon of 2030, what kind of energy mix do you expect, or the share of energy mix do you expect for the Maruti Suzuki India portfolio?
And we are on record, and we have said that we will definitely see a lot of technologies there. We are bringing our first EV by end of 2024. And so after that, every year we will have one EV, we'll have 6 EVs by 2030. So we reckon that our EV portfolio will be in the volume percentage of about 15 to 20%, 15%, 20%. The hybrid will be, again, another 25% of this. And the balance, 50 by 60% is going to be ICE with alternate fuel technologies like flex fuel or E20 or CBG and flex fuel vehicles. So I think that's the kind of mix which we are seeing. So I think a lot of work because you're working on various technologies in parallel, not adopting one only, but I believe that it is important to hedge the risk of the energy supply going forward, and what would make sense for different segments. Every segment will have a different requirement, and the customer will adopt based on a TCO and based on the merit which he sees in the technology. And so it should be something which should be easily dispensable. It should be making a good TCO, and it should be comfortable, convenient for filling and replenishing that energy source, be it flex fuel or be it CNG or electric vehicle. So I think that consideration will always remain when the adoption of technology happens. But as engineering and as Maruti Suzuki or as a as a company, we believe that we need to look at we need to work on all the technologies, and our management is also very clearly given that direction, and also explain that to all the stakeholders.
You said, I mean, Maruti Suzuki earlier mentioned about, and you also highlighted now about 6 EV models you'll have in a portfolio. In terms of the flex fuel, you said 2025. Would it be more of a showcase kind of product, or would you really look at having a portfolio of flex fuel vehicles also?
We will have to wait and watch how the the ethanol and the flex fuel infrastructure and the availability is going to be there. Pretty much today, there are 4 states where ethanol is surplus, which is Bihar, UP, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. But pan India, we sell vehicles pan India. Whether that is availability which is possible, what is the volume, and the pricing of the flex fuel is obviously another topic. If we get into that, that's a much longer topic. But those kind of things are important, which need to be kept in mind, and so that would kind of determine the penetration and the volume of flex fuel. Technology is available. Brazil has shown the way. We are it's possible that India could also adopt that model, provided all the enablers are there.
Right. So, and that's where the government's role comes in terms of facilitating, playing the facilitator's role well enough in terms of having the required ecosystem and the infrastructure for these the adoption of these new technology, cleaner technologies.
Yeah, and bring all the stakeholders on the on the same table and have the same direction and enable that to happen. So that's, I think, very important.
On that note, Raman-san, thank you very much for yet another very interesting, enriching conversation. I'm sure our viewers would also appreciate it as much. So thank you very much for your time, and wishing you and your team all the very best on behalf of ET Auto. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Sumanta-san, for having me here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, viewers. There, you saw this for watching this episode, and very interesting and enriching discussion, a very informative discussion as well, with Mr. V Raman, Chief Technology Officer at Maruti Suzuki India, and as I mentioned earlier, also a very highly experienced industry professional with no less than 40 years of experience in the automotive / mobility industry. So thank you for watching this episode. Take care and goodbye.